Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. It's fantastic to be back. As you're all aware, if you follow the show, we didn't have a show on Wednesday. We had not a dropout, sort of a rearranged show. So we missed you guys for a whole week, and it feels longer, to be honest. But we're back. We're back here with two fantastic guests for you guys tonight. So stick around and be sure to engage on the chat. We are live, and of course, we love the interaction. You can drop in questions for the second half of the show, which we can ask our guests, and that is fantastic as well. But I'm here. Chris Hooley is here. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm really happy to make it a Friday. It's been a sunny day in Wales today, which is a rarity, especially lately. So I'm happy to see the sunshine. And there's a big game if you live in Wales tomorrow, Chris. Wales v England in the Six Nations. It's a big thing in the world of rugby. But fantastic. Thank you guys for tuning in, and hello everyone on the chat already.
I think our fans are going to be absolutely delighted that they're in your bedroom.
It's kind of a new sort of vibe, because the green screen is kind of hard to put up when you've just decorated a bedroom and the walls are quite clean and freshly painted. You don't want to stick a thing up on there, right?
This is where the magic happens. And by magic, we mean Writing Community Chat Show, obviously.
Oh, of course, yeah. No more comments on that one. But first of all, we start every show off with someone from the community sponsors the show with their own book, and it's a great way to raise exposure. Anyone can do this, and it's fairly accessible. You find it on our website. So it's called the Beer Token Book Promotion, and today we have someone who's definitely a family member of the show, AC Merkel. He has sponsored the show with his book called Her Name is Murder. It's got 4.6 out of 5 after 44 ratings, which is fantastic. It's available on Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. And she's got a secret. Can she keep it?
Nice.
It's the first of 2 books, and it's available now. Someone said that I absolutely loved this book. Her Name is Murder is a gem of an urban historical fantasy. Her Name is Murder is an imaginative, fun, thrilling wild ride. I've never read anything quite like it. So it sounds fantastic. Definitely worth checking out, and please support the authors and support the show. And there you go, Chris. There's the book.
Oh, yeah. That's really nice. That great cover.
Yeah, it's had fantastic reviews, really has. So please check that out.
Love it.
So, what we're all here for, Chris, are you ready? Are you ready for guests?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else then, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
Ready for the guests.
So we've got 2 guests on for you tonight, which is it's a rarity. We normally have 1, so it's exciting to have 2 on. We'll see how this works out. We love being sort of randomly unprofessional on this show, so this is fantastic. Anna has released 6 books under her pen name Christine Bray, who has won literary awards for 3 of those books, and they became immediate bestsellers on Amazon, ranking number 1 across multiple categories, which is fantastic. Kristoffer is a well-established actor, having worked in many TV and film productions over the years. He starred in Mad Men, plenty of other things, and worked alongside Meghan Markle. He also made an appearance in last year's Wonder Woman, and is one of the names for the upcoming Jurassic World Evolution Domination next year. So that's fantastic. And both of them are formed together to create this fantastic new series. And the first book of those is called Moments Like These. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kristoffer Polaha and Anna Gomez.
There it is.
Hello to you guys.
Hello, Chris's. Hi, Anna.
Chris's.
Hello.
Making the 3rd Chris on the show for the 2nd time only, I think that's happened.
I think it's a cool thing. We should we'll have to do it again.
Absolutely. Thank you guys on the chat already saying that they love certain things in there. So fantastic. Thank you for commenting. But first of all, how are you both? Are you all doing well?
Doing good. Yeah.
Good. Fantastic.
I think your intro, I'm sure I'm sure you guys have been using that intro for I don't know how long, but it's very, very cool. It's like you go to a book chat and you do an introduction. So
cool. Yeah, we've got some talented people in our community, and in fact, they've helped a lot of the things that happen on this show. So we've got a lot of love for them as well. But yeah, it's come a long way. This was previously just a podcast for audio, which it still is, but this has evolved into this fantastic viewing platform that it is now, where we can engage with the authors, viewers live. So it's fantastic for us.
You're saying we've got talented people, Chris. I'm struggling looking at 3 different people. I'm like, where do I look?
No, it's fantastic. So let's start with what we like to do on the show is jump back in time to find out why you guys are doing what you're doing, and to find out where the inspirations came from. So start with you, Anna, if we don't mind.
Sure.
We mentioned that your pen name, Christine Bray, you published 6 books under that name. Where did the inspiration to start writing come from, and how did that lead into what you're going to do now?
Sure. Well, it started a few years ago when, my mom passed away about I think 10 years ago, and there was something about what happened that just made me want to write about it. And so I actually wrote a self-published book about kind of my life and the culture that I lived in. Obviously, I'm from the Philippines, so I moved here 20 something years ago. But writing that book, I thought I could just write it. It was very therapeutic for me. And I could just self-publish it and just run away. So that's kind of what I did. And, it got quite a bit of attention, gained a few readers, and the rest is history. So I started writing more and more books. And, again, here we are. But this book, specifically this book with Chris, was really just something that just came out of an idea that we had last year, just me and the publisher, to kind of delve into a different type of romance book. And I just consider myself really lucky that just Chris walked in one day and wanted to write the book with me. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So what happened between the point of you writing, say, your first self-published novel, as something that was kind of, I understand that fully, because I wrote my first self-published book off the back of my grandfather's death, and it was something along the similar lines which really inspired me to want to do more with my life. So what happened to the point where you self-published that turned into something bigger? How did that feel, and what was that sort of process for you?
Yeah, that was, I remember when I released that first book, I went for I was planning to do a 5-mile run, and I went for 15 miles. I just didn't want to go back home because I just didn't want to see what the result was of that release. But, before I wrote that book, I had already kind of made a plan of, I plan a lot. So I made friends with some authors, got kind of their input, kind of got into this book writing world, made friends with editors, and researched, how that would happen and how I would get it done. So I had a lot of support when I published the first book, but I didn't know that, there was a bigger world of readers out there. So I was getting messages from women that had gone through the same thing. This woman from the UK set up a Facebook page for me, and I'm like, what's a Facebook page? What do I do? And so she set it up, and then they added fans and added more and more people. And then the readers just kind of got personal with me. They wanted to know why I wrote the book and what spurred the story, and did I really have 2 loves in my life, and blah, blah, blah. And then I started engaging with them, and then they wanted a second book because they felt like the story wasn't over and that this woman never got closure. So, and she didn't. So I wrote the second book, I self-published it again. By the time I did the second book, I felt like it was such a good outlet for me that in every stage of my life, I decided to write a book. So I went through a midlife crisis. I wrote third book. And then I got picked up by a publisher. So after that, I went to this book fair, and there were a few agents that, that spoke with me. And I find myself so lucky because I didn't have to query or anything. I was actually approached. And so, I chose one agent that I made a great decision in choosing, in Chris knows her, Italia. I mean, she was, she was more, she was more a friend and an advisor and a mentor. And so I chose her, and again, the rest is history. So it was I didn't really go through the whole querying process or have to, get rejected millions of times. And I find myself very blessed that happened. But again, building a readership took years. It's not the first book. It's not the second book, And I guess to end this long story, as I was writing books, I was also rising in my career, and my career was getting a little bit more hectic and crazier. I was getting promoted. I was traveling around the world. And, it came to a point where it was very hard to separate my pen name from my real name. I was walking into meetings and board meetings and pushing policy and procedure. And here I am writing romance books. So it started to become a fine line between that and my life just got really hectic, and then I had teenagers and who needed a lot of my attention. So I finally said, I'm not going to write anymore. The fifth book was optioned for film. I wrote another book, and then I said I'm kind of gonna take a break and focus on my career, because everyone knows everyone has a side gig that needs to be focused on. So I did. I made that decision, and then last year it was basically a conversation between me and my agent saying, you know what, we're in this COVID thing. We're kind of in this world where there's a shift in readership now to wanting to provide content for all these platforms. They're just dying for content. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And so she said, why don't you write one more book, and why don't you write it for the Hallmark audience? And I laughed. I'm like, what? I'm like, is it like about a guy in plaid that meets a girl and then they fight and then they break up and then they get back together again? She goes, how did you know? So then she says, let me send you a spreadsheet with a matrix and show you and show you what it should be. And I'm like, what? How would I write? How do you write romance that's not like dark and sad like I always do? I'm just so used to dark and sad stories. And she said, just give it a try. And so I did. And I was just starting out. And then I'm going to hand it over to Kristoffer Polaha, who's going to finish the story for me.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an amazing transformation between, a real backing from fans and a community spirit to support your work.
Yeah. And they're still with me now. It's
of course.
Amazing how they just stay, and, readers are promiscuous in a sense that they will, find a book they love and gush about an author and then move on after that and go find another book to read. But there are a few people that are just really loyal to an author. And when their words have impacted them in that sense, I feel like they really connect. And I'm so lucky that happened.
Yeah.
So Chris, obviously you're on the move a little bit there.
I'm taking you guys on a journey because my family's still at home doing home schooling, and they're all in the kitchen having lunch. And so just give me 2 seconds to get everything.
Hey, no worries. You should invite them in. We'll have a good chat.
This is live. Live.
So Chris, obviously Anna's teased a little bit about how you come into the fold. But can you take us back to a little bit before that, to sort of how your journey into writing happened and how you got to this point?
Yeah. Yes, I can. Just give me 1 second. I will 100% answer that question. This gives a new term to navel gazing.
It seems like on the left side of the screen, you must have a background, and on the right side of the screen, you have a solid color. That's kind of the rule going on.
I did what you did. Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys.
How do you do that, by the way? You have to teach me that.
Okay. So, see, we just switched the whole thing. It's like a brand new. So the question is, how did I get involved with Anna? Is that sort of the basis?
How did you start writing?
Yeah.
How did I start writing? That's a great question. I think I stumbled upon this answer the other day where, you get a lot of people who sing in the shower and everyone sing in public. Well, I've been writing my whole life. When I was in high school, I used to love writing short stories. English was like the thing that I was the strongest at as a student. In college, I had like a double minor in English and religion, and so I was always reading and kind of doing short stories. And I'm an avid reader. I love books. And then the other thing that I was doing, in conjunction with writing plays and screenplays for theater, was I've always been a journaler. So I've always been writing just different ideas and different stories. And it kind of dawned on me, I'm 44 years old, and all of a sudden it kind of dawned on me, like, I've just been telling stories my whole life. And I happen to be a guy who liked to get up in front of a camera or on a stage and do that in person as an actor. But but I got to be honest with you, I never, ever, ever considered thinking of myself as an author or a writer of any kind publicly. And I don't know where it came from, but Anna and I were talking, our very first conversation, a Zoom call just like this, in fact. And she was talking about the 6 books that she had written. We were discussing whether or not those would be adaptable for Hallmark. I was saying, I think you've written things that are so dark and complex and beautiful. Like they're a lot, and then not to put down Hallmark, because Hallmark's an amazing place to work, and I love doing movies for them and that audience that they support me so vigorously. But I was thinking, like, Apple Plus or Netflix might be a place for you, because those are just different. And then she mentioned the From Kona with Love series. And I don't know where this came from, but about 6 months prior, I had been in the grocery store and I saw all these romance novels. And I thought about my audience, and I thought about this world I have in the Hallmark universe. And I thought, what would be a cool way to extend the brand or the footprint? I was like, if I could co-author. And so I literally jotted down these random names, and I had no real intention of, I don't know, it was enough of I wrote down a couple authors' names, thinking maybe I can reach out on Twitter, or maybe I can whatever. And all of a sudden, Anna and I were talking, and Anna, do you remember, was it me? I was just like, would you ever consider co-authoring a novel? Because I said, the smartest way to take a pitch into a network, and this is just great information for anybody who's out there who's writing. If you want to go to Netflix or Hallmark or Apple or Warner Brothers or any of these places, if you own the IP, if you are the creator of the IP, or if you grab a hold of IP at its early stage, which is why Reese Witherspoon, they get books. All these actors who open up Shingles, they just pour through literature and they get the rights to books. And so I said to Anna, I said, one of the smartest, cleanest ways for us to sell things would be just to come up with something ourselves. If you ever wanted to write, co-author something, I threw it out there, not even really anticipating. And I got to be honest, guys, in my wildest dreams, I could not have imagined working with someone as amazing as Anna has been, because she just said immediately, she was like, yeah, let's do that. In fact, there's this series, it's 5
because I didn't want to write the book by myself.
And I was like, well, hold on a second. Don't you need to talk to your husband? This is a business thing that we're talking about. Sharing something. Don't you want to talk? Talk to your agent. And she's like, I know, but let me. And so we talked on Monday, and it was like, yeah, let's rock and roll with it. Let's make it happen. We literally had contracts signed on Wednesday, and then we just started a creative collaboration that has been truly just a deep pleasure. I think a lot of people who probably watch your program are writers, and so they go into a room by themselves and they sit down, and it's a very isolated, very quiet endeavor. This has been the opposite of that.
I love that.
Anna and I have never met in person. It's all been via Zoom, calls and text.
Do you know what? This show is exactly the same way. When it first started off, I asked Chris, would he want to start a podcast? And it was an instant yes, exactly the same way. And it's been like that ever since, especially because of lockdown. So it's an identical relationship going on right here.
Yeah, so it's kismet. We're meant to be here.
Yeah. So what happened with you, Chris, then when you started writing sort of a story, a fictional story, but having to write with someone else? These are all challenges that someone as an author will struggle with in some way or the other. How did you deal with that? Or have you leaned on Anna a lot, or was there a lot of that experience that you had helping to do that?
Well, again, the credit goes to Anna, because I would say, at first I was like, what do you want me to write? And she was like, just write anything. And I had an instinct. I was like, well, I know I lived on Oahu. My kid was born there. I have a lot of personal memories attached to that island. And so I know what I can bring in as far as, and so I think very organically we arrived at, the book was already titled Moments Like This when I showed up, and Andy was already created as a character, and Warren had already been, right? You already introduced Warren when I showed up. So all of the framework, and like she said, the matrix was in place. And then my job was to then just start adding what I could. And she gave me permission to just write. She said, write it and send it to me, and we'll figure out where it goes in the book. And then we'll just figure it out. So
he's not giving himself enough credit, though. He is a great writer. And I think, it was the first time for both of us. And I think we want to make that clear. I've never written with anyone before. So it was really a big deal for me to share, you know how it is to Chris's. It's a big deal to share what you write with someone before you're ready, you know. So I think the important thing to note is the trust factor that was established in the beginning.
I think, especially working as a pair, that you're sharing work that is completely raw with each other as well.
Really raw. Yeah.
It's prior to the editing phase, so you're showing them your true writing as a draft worker. So it's got to be a real trust and open relationship in that respect.
What's amazing about Anna is that she writes and she'll do this thing where she like jams out all her ideas. So she's like, and I was like, oh, that's her story, because it's at her is actually really good.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's okay. So I can match this. So I did my thing. And then she does this other thing where it's like she like massages her work, and then she takes, and when I got it back, I was like, holy cow, you just like upped the game. Like, hold on a second. And I think the difference is when I write, I kind of, what I put down is then I walk away from. I think that's kind of true so far.
We did have Sorry,
my question was about exposure. So Chris, obviously, I'm going to ask you both a different question about exposure and exposing yourself. So Chris, obviously, people know you as an actor, but you're going into the world of writing and you're, exposing that side of yourself. And Anna, obviously, you've been writing books for a long time and you're now sharing that process. So how did you both deal with those elements, and how did you find it? Was there anything that cropped up that you didn't expect?
Anna, would you like to field that?
Go ahead.
I would say I've actually been it's a good question, and I can't speak for Anna, but Anna, I have been very aware of the fact that you were sharing your stage with me. And I think that we're both going through this process together, like with these interviews and with all of it. Like it's an unusual, I'm used to sitting on a panel with a bunch of actors because every film is a collaboration. So my entire artistic career has been a collaboration, working with the directors, working with other actors. You show up on set, you pitch an idea, the best idea wins. And so for me, it's funny, my kid was like, Dad, are you sure you want to be a romance writer? And I was like, not like, it's like, they're books. They're not just. and it was one of those things where it was an interesting, for me, I love the idea of creating stories. And I think that the intention of taking these to screen. And so what the idea is hopefully we have this big, beautiful readership that loves the stories, that wants to, read the next one, and then we'll roll that right onto the big screen, and we'll combine those two worlds very seamlessly. So for me, while it does feel like exposure, it feels like good exposure. It feels like new, healthy exposure. But I've always been sensitive and aware of Anna, because it's weird. I don't, it's her turf, and I don't want to, walk in on it and be that loud guy who's like, all right, this is what we're doing now.
I think, first of all, it's not my turf. There's so many writers out there you could have chosen. So that's one thing. Second, you're not giving yourself enough credit. Again, you're a great writer. So you could have written a book by yourself. But I feel like the chemistry that we have and the creative connection that we have is special, because we've been able to come up with not just these characters. We know book 1 to 5. Like we have this direction and this vision that's so the same that I mean, when you go into concept meetings, and you do this too, I'm sure all of you do, when you even go into a meeting where you're concepting or you're creating, there's always like push and pull here and there. He'll say something, I'll be like, that's great, let's put that. And then we would like we agree on most of the things. But I think what I want to point out too, it's not it's different for me in the sense of sharing, but it's also different for me. This is a new journey for me, even just now, just the way that we're on this podcast. And we have like 75 other interviews and podcasts we have to do. That's new to me. That's me going into Chris's world, because he's more in the media. So when I promote books, I don't promote it this way. I never did. This is exciting, interesting. It's brand new, but there's also different worlds that he's introducing me to that I've never done before. So I think it's even on that end, like the new journey. And someone reminded me yesterday that this is the first book I'm writing under my real name. So it's like I'm starting over. So, even just looking at my followers, 30,000 followers for Christine Bray, 17 for Anna Gomez. Like I'm starting over too. So he's also taking me on this journey, even if it's a different kind.
Yeah. I'm glad Chris, you cleared that question up when you said about exposing yourselves. I was getting a bit worried where you were going with that one. So there's one thing you mentioned about the books, that it's a series, of course, but it says on your website that they are designed to be standalones as well. How are you approaching that? Is that something you're consciously doing while you're writing the process?
All I'm going to say, Chris, you can jump in, is that, being in the book world and having written books, readers don't want to wait for cliffhangers or books that are so intertwined. They'll normally wait for the entire thing to come out and buy all 5 books. So having learned that, we've kind of talked about it and, kind of modified our way that they're a series. They're in different islands in Hawaii. We've introduced you to some really amazing characters in book 1 that you'll want to see in 2, 3, 4, and 5. But each end is a standalone. Chris?
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's basically the idea of, like, how Marvel Universe, it's a full-fleshed, it's a 3D universe, and you can go in and you're seeing the same story from a different point of view. And I think that's how, when Anna and I were talking about the architecture of this series, we very early on, and it was literally one Zoom call. We talked about it and we were like, do you want to tell, are all 5 going to be about the same? And I kind of wasn't into that, and she really wasn't into that. And so both of us were like, well, then let's not, and let's make it, we'll just introduce. And so we didn't even know starting out who book 2 was going to be about until we finished book 1. And then we both really were excited about these 2 particular people. I was particularly excited about this other person that she was like, I'm so glad you said that, because now we know what book 3 was about. And then book 4, is still, we know where we're going with it. It's still a little bit up in the air, but we have 100% know where 5 is going. So what you're getting is a universe. And like Anna said, each island is going to be represented differently. I think there's different types of love that can be represented differently. You have, there's just different ways to express love. And so I think we're going to explore just a lot of different facets of relationships. And so, in book 1, I think what readers can expect is just that beautiful whirlwind of a brand new relationship where people have gone through a lot and are wanting a fresh start, and they afford each other that fresh start. And then, of course, there's conflicts that come with that, because you have to deal with your life, at some point. But how we wrap that up is pretty cool, I thought. It was a fun. And then book 2 is a totally different, and yet them already, and the world already. And so it feels like a series.
It's good having that level of familiarity, isn't it? Yeah. Chris, go on. Ask what you're going to ask, but we're approaching half an hour. So
I know, that went quick. Time flies when you're having fun. My question was, obviously in your mind that you're always constantly thinking of the screen as well when you're writing. So does that have any factor into the writing process? Have you ever come up with maybe ideas that you thought might not work on screen, and you've edited, accordingly? I was just wondering from a writer's point of view, how you sort of tackled that. Yeah,
that's a great question, actually, Chris. And if you don't mind, I'll feel it. I am always, when I'm writing a screenplay or while I'm discussing with a screenplay writer, you got to keep budget in mind. If we have 15 different locations and you have a rocket ship or explosion or whatever, that's all a lot of money. I think the freedom of writing a book, we didn't really worry about that. Just kind of took the story, and I figured we'd cross that bridge when we get there with the screenplay. But for the book, we just said, there in my mind, I was always like, let's just write. I think. Yeah. With Anna, I was like, we just. Oh.
Well, but I will say that we there were times in writing the first book what I would ask Chris, like, is this too much? Right?
Well, that was more for the Hallmark. You were like, there was some, we're always trying to figure out like how, because it's not lit porn. Like we haven't written a lit porn. It's not, people are doing like hot, heavy stuff. You're not going to get into this. And so I think the question's always been, I think initially we were always writing it for Hallmark specifically. I think that has changed because there were a lot of stopgaps with like writing something where I was like, they're not going to want that. They're not going to want that. And then one day we were on a Zoom call and I said, you know what, let's not worry about who we're selling it to. Because we sell it to, what if Warner Brothers wants to make? I mean, there's I did anything. Like, let's just go for the best story.
Absolutely.
I think what we ended up doing.
So what we have is a couple of staple questions. We'll ask these before we move on to the questions from the community. So guys on the chat, if you do have questions, please send them in now and we will ask those shortly. But Chris, let's start off with the staple questions and aim one of those at one of the two guests and see what we come up with.
Okay, so I'm going to aim this one at you, Anna. I'm going to say if you could take any character from fiction and make them your own for a story or a series, which character would you pick and why?
A book character?
It doesn't have to be a book, any fictional character.
It's a lot.
How do you narrow that down?
There's a lot. But you know what? I would pick, I'm obsessed with the Thornbirds.
Oh, wow.
And so Maggie McCleary, I think I read that book when I was in high school. And to me, she was like the epitome of like the strongest woman, emotionally, everything. She stood for her ground and did things unconventionally. And I think, I would like to take her and put her in a movie, in a book, in anything in my life. I think she's very inspiring.
It's very good answer. So, Chris, second part of that question would be, and we'll extend this to TV, film, whatever you want this to be. If you could change the ending to anything, it's usually a book, but you can obviously extend it. What would you change the ending to and why?
That's an amazing question because my kid, Micah, is having to study Romeo and Juliet, and so we watched the Olivia Hussey version. To say Hussey, and I was watching it, and I was like, why did Shakespeare? I mean, I get why Romeo and Juliet is Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
like, you get it; they have to die, but it kind of would have been. I mean, I'm still going for it. I'm going to say we literally talked about it last night, and I was like, they could have made a happy ending to this.
You could have very easily.
Yeah, love.
I mean, is it like the whole romantic love tragedy thing? Like literally, if you just waited a few seconds, then happy ending. But I don't know. I agree. And
I don't think we would be talking about Romeo and Juliet if you did make that happy ending. So I mean, I get it.
But that wasn't that the best version though? She's so beautiful. Like she looked like Juliet.
Yeah. My wife was like, bring someone like that home, kids.
I would like to see Romeo and Juliet after like 20 years of marriage, just to see if they went the distance.
Should I have died early on?
Yeah. Divorced with their separate, families. Brilliant. Go on, Chris. Stick a morbid question into, I guess, both of them.
Yeah. So this obviously goes to both of you, and it is a bit morbid, like Chris said. But you're on your deathbed, and you're looking back at your writing career. What does success look like to you? What would you be happy with?
Go on, Anna, you go first.
Sure. Impact. I don't care how many books I've sold. I care about the people that it impacted, the emails that I got.
Brilliant answer.
Nice. Have you had just on that, just to expand it a little bit, have you had any emails that have impacted you personally, or any funny ones perhaps? Because we do get some strange stories at times.
Yeah. I think very, very different. Again, my books were a little bit more complicated than this more recent one, but like people that are having marriage problems or that are really just distraught, or someone who put a tattoo of my book cover with my signature on their ankle, things like that. I just have to tell you a really funny story because my agent and everyone gets mad at me for this, but I never check book sales. I never check book sales. And when I was trying to pitch my book, they were saying, "What are your book sales?" And I'm like, I have no idea. because I just write because I just write.
Do you read the reviews?
I used to read the reviews. Now I'm reading the reviews for Chris and I on Goodreads, but I stop at a certain point.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I haven't really.
Once it's out, it's out.
Yeah. Chris, what?
Yeah, I'll be scratching my head, still amazed that I even have a name on it. I mean, I really do feel like a guest at the party. I mean, I feel that way in Hollywood too, but I feel like, I mean, I feel like there's a bit of, I feel guilty because I know there are so many writers out there. I know how hard this industry is and how difficult to write a good book, let alone a book, and then to have someone look at that and take it seriously, to get an agent, to have it represented, to have it published, and then to find readership. All of that is a monumental accomplishment. And the fact, literally, this thing is, I'm embarrassed. So if I were on my deathbed and someone was like, how did you want your books to land on people? I'd be like, I'm as lucky as a pig in shit to have
Well, do you know what, Chris? I wrote, like I said, off the back of the death row, my grandfather randomly wrote a book. I'm not someone who went through sort of university courses or whatever in English literature. So I kind of feel the same way, that I've written something because of a feeling I had that is now people have liked or whatever. So I kind of get that same feeling. But do you think that, you know, because of your acting side of things and you didn't grow up in that genre of writing books, do you think that that's going to hold you back enjoying your process? Or do you think that you can actually accept the fact that you're writing quality work?
Yeah, I mean,
You are writing
quality work is the caveat. I think that I can enjoy writing, and I think I keep saying that is the most, and this will raise eyebrows like Chris's exposed comment did, but the most collaborative experience I've ever had. Like working with Anna has literally just been a deeply pleasurable experience, because I'll go and I'll write and I'll create this little nugget, and then I ship it off to my new friend, and I just kind of wait, and then she'll be like, oh my God, I love this and I love that. And so like her initial review is, I'm like, that's awesome. And it's weird because I haven't been talking about, you know, like my wife is like, you're writing a book? Like what? My kids are doing this. And then all of a sudden this box showed up with books, and
wow.
You know, they're like, wow, like this is a thing, huh? And I'm like, I guess it's a thing. And so, but all of that said, it really has been, I wrote the book in the UK, by the way. All my editions, I was in the Langley in Ivor, right outside of London.
Wow.
Just, I was in quarantine, so I was stuck for 15 days in a hotel room, number 15. And I just, and it really was an amazing experience. I mean, it was an awesome experience, because when you're telling a story on set, somebody's already written the words for you.
Yeah.
Even when you've got your dialogue in front of you and you see a way to make it better, the chain of command to give notes on dialogue or any kind of change, to say this just feels more natural to say it this way, it has to get approved. It has to be okay. It has to. And sometimes you work with directors who are like, let's just wrinkle the page, make it yours, do what you want to do. And this was just like the freedom to create. It's just the freedom to create. If you want to go left, you go left. If you want to make the character go swimming, they go swimming. If you want to put her in a bikini, she's, you know, in a hot pink bikini. It's fun. Like, it was just a fun. The romp. What you read is what we were experiencing, I think. Is that fair enough?
It's fantastic. People are very fond of your typewriter hands, by the way. So what we'll do is we'll move on, because we're enjoying this conversation so much. We're already in 40 minutes, and we don't want to miss out on the questions from the community, which we mentioned earlier. Chris managed to answer some of these on Twitter in the week, but it's okay. I put them in anyway. And let's have a little look through the chat and see what live ones have come in. So give me a second. Do you know what? I'll find one of the ones that came in earlier, then I'll have a little scan.
Do we not get the pleasure of the trailer, Chris?
The question time ones?
Yeah.
If you really want to, I'll find it. Yeah.
Of course, it makes the show.
For a while. Here we go. You know, it's quite tricky to multitask here, Chris. So, first question from Cheryl. The book scenes and locations were so descriptively colourful and visceral. May I know if you or both of you visited the places mentioned in the book during the writing process, or was it more of an online experience to write the scenes? That's a good question.
Chris?
Well, I lived on Oahu, like I said earlier, for a whole year. So I've run rocks, and I've been to all those little places, and so I was able to, again, just jump into the imagination and memory bank and pull stuff back out.
Yeah. Anna, have you ever been to any of these places?
Oh, I have. I'm from the Philippines, so it's 2 hours away from Honolulu. But most of those scenes though were actually Chris's experience. I mean, that's why it felt so real. There was nothing in that book, hardly anything that was research. I mean, I researched about coffee plantations and how
Like coffee beans, the soil.
harvested and stuff like that, which is very interesting, by the way. But all the scenery in there is actually, from experience.
I mean, it's mentioned in a lot of reviews that how wonderfully descriptive the scenes are and the scenery is. So is that something that, Chris, you really pulled from your experiences and found easy to write out, or did you have to quite take your time in displaying that information?
No, I mean, I think anybody who's ever been to Hawaii, here's what it was. It was a really fertile time in my life. When my wife had just been married, she was pregnant with her first child. It was my first series called North Shore. So I was like a 24-year-old kid living in Hawaii. Everything was vibrant. Everything was as present in front of me immediate. And so I remember when I went to Waimea Bay, and I mean, there were these huge boulders that we didn't write about, but these huge giant cliffs on the bay looking to the left. And I would swim out to them, and there were bull sharks, and these bull sharks would just follow people, but not attack them. I remember being on a bodyboard one day and feeling like something was under me, and to the point where I put my head under the water to like see what was going on. And I get out and like, hey, brother, whenever you feel something in the water, you should listen to that, because it's a turtle or a dolphin or a shark, but there's something. You're not alone. So for me, it was easy because my life. I'm sure you guys have all experienced this. It sounds like when your grandfather died, there was a timestamp. Like, there was a clean puncture in the fabric of the line of your life, and it stopped in that moment. So that when Anna had said, "I'm writing a book and it's a series and it'll take place in Hawaii," that's why I think I had the confidence to be like, you know what, I know I can help. I think I have something to add to that because I lived there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it was easy. I mean, that was my home for a year.
Yeah.
And the people there, and I've gone back and worked since, and I have a community of people that went there. It was fun to see everybody again. So it's cool.
Sounds fantastic. Mario has asked, how does one go about pitching a story to Netflix, Apple, etc.? If you do have the knowledge of this, any of you can answer.
Chris will answer that.
Yeah.
It's not an easy answer, but because what you normally need is an avenue to get to those people, which is usually a representative, agent, or manager. And that's really, and to get an agent or a manager, you would have to take your manuscript or your idea, and you have to go and sit down and meet with those kinds of people. And you could do that by, calling them up, or there's a myriad of different ways. Submitting your work as a writer would be the easiest way to do that.
Fantastic.
But yeah, unfortunately, it's not an easy thing to get through the pearly gates.
Samantha, she said, question for Anna and Chris. Are the two main characters in the book based on actual people in your lives?
I see. Anna, you created them. Are they related to people you know?
I mean, I think one rule I have, even when I'm teaching creative writing classes to kids or whatever, is they write what you know. What you know is you. So what you know is your experiences and your personality. But I will say that Chris called me up one day, like, a couple of months later, and said to me, "You just pulled an Andy."
You play your lists. You love lists and planning. I was like, "You said to me."
How is creative writing classes for kids? Is there some funny stories, or is that
a
rewarding process?
We do it for work. So basically, I don't know, they outed me. I'm a CFO, so I'm in finance. And somebody outed me that I'm a writer on the side. And so they have creative classes for kids from 10 to 16. And they put me in for the teacher. So I've been teaching these classes once a week. And they are adorable. Last week, I do a prompt. So last week, my prompt, for example, was Mary ate too much peppers. And at the end of the story, we ended up with aliens in a spaceship and a jewel being stolen by an evil king. I mean, these kids just have such great imaginations that they're like making their own stories. It's great.
It's awesome.
Nice.
That is fantastic. I mean, it's such a crucial age for people to get into writing or reading, even reading. So to be doing those sort of creative classes at that age is just such a gift to those kids.
Yeah.
We have another question here. I think Sam. Do we have Sam already? Yeah. For both of you, moments like this. Moments like this was written for the hopes of becoming a movie series, which you mentioned. When writing the characters, did you have anyone in mind you'd like to star?
Ooh, nice.
I mean, I would love to be Warren in this book. He's a little younger than I am. He's a heck of a lot richer than I am. My dad read it and he was like, "Man, I want to be." He's like, "I got a lot of money." He's like, "I want to have that." I was like, yeah. Because Warren has this world he occupies, but so does Andy. Like, they occupy this very unique world, which we occupy a very different world in book 2 and book 3.
Excellent. Right.
Yeah.
We will have one more, and then we'll get on with the quiz to finish the show off, because we don't want to keep you too long. I know the people will probably want to keep you here for hours, as we do, but we can't run over too far. One more. Let's have a little look. Sorry, there's so many comments going through the chat. I can't pick the question.
Can I ask a question once you find it, Chris?
Yeah, please do.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's about to collaborate with somebody else whilst writing? Because obviously it's a process that you guys have been through now. So could you give anyone any tips or hints or advice?
I will say the one thing Anna and I have been really good about, and this is falls in Anna's court. I'm going to give you the credit again. She's been so good about every week. She's very organized, and I'm very not. So she puts in with a Zoom link meeting, and she puts it on the calendar. And we've just created a rhythm of always meeting and seeing, and so that every Friday, it used to be Wednesdays, and now it's Fridays. Even if it's just a text to say, "Hey, we got to push it to next week," we're always checking in with each other. And I think an open line of communication has been key.
That is a great support network.
I think that's really what made it work. And we made a deal early on that if you have an idea, like, because ideas come anywhere, you know that. If you don't, like, he would say, like, I was very careful with him in the beginning. You know, like, I don't want to call you or text you, but we made a deal, like, you have an idea and you need something, text, call, do whatever. So sometimes our phones will just ring. Like,
Yeah.
What's your time zones between you two? Is it different?
2 hours.
It's
Okay,
2 hours. When in the States, it's easy. It's manageable. And she's
Yeah.
And he's always up really late. So like at 2 in the morning here is midnight there, and that's when he's. But and then I text him back. It's 4 in the morning in his place.
Wow.
But I think that's very important. I think it's the communication and the collaboration, because you really have to be on the same plane of thinking. You can't just write and pick it up 3 weeks later, and you just have to keep going.
Yeah.
It's funny because we're both married, and so her husband's name is Bill, and my wife's name is Julianne. And there's this thing of like, I'll be like sitting there at 12 at midnight, texting, and Julian's like, "Who are you?"
talking about romance. Yeah, sending romance texts. Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, that's not a massive gap, time difference, but someone did ask, Marcus asked, the pros and cons of working as a duo, and you mentioned some strengths there, but are there any weaknesses that you know of in terms of writing as a partnership?
I think we have very hectic lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're only in book 1, and that was, I think, our honeymoon. We have 5 books that we want to do. I wonder, because we haven't had any creative divergences. We haven't been like, "Oh, I really feel strongly about this," and maybe like, "I just don't." Like, we haven't disagreed on anything yet. So, it really truly has been. I said something the other day in an article. I said, in improv, you have to yes and the other player. So if someone shows up and says, "Look, it's your birthday," you can't be like, "No, it's not." You have to be like, "Yeah, and it's a surprise." You have to yes and each other. And Anna is so good instinctively. I'll be like, "Well, what about?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, I like that. Let's do this." And then she jumps into something, and I like to yes and people, so that I'm like, "I love that. Let's go." She just sent me a couple of chapters on book 2 that we're reading, and I had a totally different vision for when I saw our lead girl get into the water. But then when I read her chapter, I was like, "No, I see it. I like this one." And so it was easy for me to just go, "You know what? I like this. I like what she did with." And so I think there's a lot of surrender. If you have a lot of control issues, you probably won't make a good collaborator.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, what we'll do is we'll move on to the quiz for the end of the show, and we'll wrap up. And people are very excited about this book, and there's a lot of comments coming in, so they're going to look into this and read it, or have read it, and there are a lot of comments about it. And it's fantastic, and it really is something that's causing a lot of excitement. So what we'll do is a quiz, because this is a rom-com genre book. What we're going to do is have a little quiz, a rom-com quiz, and it's kind of in the movie world, and it's kind of works between the two of you. One of you is an author, one of you is an actor, author, so it kind of merges those worlds. And what we're going to do is ask Anna a question, then we'll ask Chris a question, and if you answer the question correctly, you get a point. If you pass it and the other person gets it correct, they get 2 points. But if they get it wrong, the original person gets a point back. So sounds fairly complicated. It's not. But so I'll ask the first question to Anna. So Anna, there's 14 questions to go for. We'll see who's got this knowledge. It's quite tough, so we'll have a go. Anna, which classic rom-com is a retelling of Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew? Any ideas?
I know who's in it, but I don't know the title. Do you, Chris? I'm passing. Pass.
Yeah, Heath Ledger's in it. It's
That is correct. He's in it.
I know it.
I can't remember the title.
Oh, go on.
Can I get a point?
All the things you hate. I hate all the things I hate about you. Or
Ooh, close.
10 things I hate about you.
Yes,
There
he's
we
got
go.
it. He's got it. So that's 2 points because you passed it, Anna. Chris, is that what you had? Is that what you were going for?
Yeah, I'm a high school English teacher. Of course, I've seen that film.
Fantastic. Okay, this question's to you then, Chris. True or false? Easy one. Pretty Woman is the highest grossing rom-com worldwide to date.
I'm going to say true.
What do you say, Chris?
I'm gonna say false because rom-com, The Notebook's in that, isn't it? Maybe, or is that not a rom-com? Is that a rom-com?
Apparently,
No.
this is true. So it's another point to Chris. So he's 3 points up at the moment. Okay, next question to Anna. Oh, I've got to read off a speech now. A bit of acting needs to come in here. I'm scared of what I was. I'm scared of what I did, of who I am, and most of all, I'm scared of walking out of this room and never feeling the rest of my life, my whole life, the way I feel when I'm with you. What character said that?
I have no idea.
Okay. You passing, Chris? Any ideas?
Well, didn't one of our characters say that? You're like,
I don't think it's one of your characters.
I'm scared of what I saw. I'm scared of what I did. I'm scared of walking out of this room and never.
It's a very famous film. I'll give you that hint.
The rest of my whole life. What I feel when I'm with you.
Chris, any ideas?
You got Tom Hanks in it?
It has not got Tom Hanks in it. Nil point for you people. That was Baby from. I've lost the name of the film. Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing.
Yes. Okay, let's carry on. Razzles, both a candy and gum, are sweets that play into the plot of what movie? Anna. Oh, Chris. Sorry, Chris. Yeah.
No. Are we good? 13 going on 30.
That is correct. Straight in there with that answer.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay.
Okay,
Anna,
so you can tell I don't watch movies.
Anna, what was the name of Ellie Wood's Chihuahua in Legally Blonde? I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, I should know it.
That's such a hard question.
No, it's not. I don't know. No, it's slipping my mind right now.
Yeah. I guess.
Somebody tell me.
Was it Atticus Finch? Was it Atticus Finch? Was it little Lincoln? I don't know. I think she named it after someone.
Well, are you passing on the question? No one's got the answer. Chris, do you know?
I have no idea. I've never seen that film.
Really? The answer is Bruiser. Little
Bruiser?
Chihuahua.
Of course
Yeah.
it is. Of course it's Bruiser.
Oh, someone said Brewster in the chat. And they
Brewster.
start with a B, so that's good. Sarah got it, Bruiser. Yes, a lot of people know that answer. Okay, so who are we on now? Back to Chris. Okay, he's getting all the easy ones. I'm sorry, Anna.
I know.
Finish the quote. I'm just this girl standing in front of a boy.
I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy. It's Julia Roberts. It's Notting Hill. She's in the bookstore and she says, "Pass." What does she say, Anna?
I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy.
Yeah.
It is. It's not English.
Who wants
Yeah.
to be loved, right? Who wants to be loved, or who?
Come on, Anna, get this.
I have to finish the quote. Jeez.
Yeah. I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy.
Of a boy.
No? I want to give you a hint, but I don't know how to.
Is it?
Asking them something.
Oh, asking him to
Yeah.
stay, to
Romance.
to love.
Yeah.
ask him to love me.
Close enough, I'll give you. It was asking him to love her.
Ask him to love her.
So that's 4 points to 2. You're back in the game slightly.
Yeah, slightly.
And this is your question again. It seems to be another harder one. I'm sorry. Which opera do they go to in Pretty Woman? Chris is looking like he knows that, maybe. That's a tough one. I wouldn't have a clue.
No, I don't know. No.
Is it? Can I have it, Anna? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it La Boheme?
Is it what? Sorry.
La Boheme?
It's an aria from La Boheme.
It's La
Traviata.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Nil point. Okay.
Oh my gosh, these are hard.
I'm sorry. Back to Chris. Okay. Gracie Hart went undercover in Miss Congeniality, representing which U.S. state in the Miss World pageant? Yeah, these are quite tough. I'm sorry.
It's tough. I'm going to say that she was representing like Mississippi or Oklahoma.
No. It's not that. Anna, have you got one? I'm passing it over because I wanted to get some points back. Just guess a state.
Minnesota.
Incorrect. It was New Jersey. Okay. There's a couple left. And this is back to Anna now, right?
Right.
Okay. You killed our love fern is a saying from what classic rom-com? I'm so sorry, Anna.
I actually know that, which is embarrassing.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
One of my favorite ones.
You killed our love fern.
You killed our love fern.
I remember she goes, "You killed our love fern," but I can't remember.
There's a lot of knowledge in the chat about these rom-com films, definitely.
Chris, I'm passing.
I'm going to pass it back to you. I'm going to double up. It's You Killed Our Love Fern. I can't remember.
No, go on, Chris Hooley.
Is it How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days?
It is, in fact, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Well done.
Yes.
You unfortunately not on the scorecard, so you can't win that. This is really good exercise for my brain, says Sarah on the chat. Good. Okay, I think there's maybe 3 left, so we need to make sure that we catch up. Back to Chris, though. Which film is the line, "It's still raining, I hadn't noticed" from?
3 Weddings and a Funeral.
4
Weddings and a Funeral.
I was nearly going to take that away from you then. It is indeed 4 Weddings and a Funeral, not 3.
Hugh Grant.
It is.
Andy.
Okay, come on, Anna. Clueless is a loose adaptation of what Jane Austen novel?
It is.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
You know that? You answer it. You're in my team.
Chris, you can help Anna out if you know it. You don't know it either, do you?
I don't think we do.
Anyone on the chat, can you help Anna out with the answer to this? There's 2 answers correctly.
Ooh.
We'll help her out. So Annie is helping you out. She's the moderator on the show, so why not? She's Emma ? Is correct. We'll give a point to Anna there. It was Emma. Yeah. Okay, so we have 2 left. This one's for Chris. "I'll have what she's having" is a famous line from what film?
Yeah. It's oh my gosh. The name just it's
I know that one.
Billy Crystal, and it's Meg Ryan, and she does the thing, and it's the movie called Oh my gosh. Ah, pass.
Passing it.
When Harry Met Sally.
Yes, it's When Harry Met Sally. Oh my goodness, what's the score? 5.
He's still.
It's 5-5 right now. You've actually leveled it back up.
Time.
So this is coming on to Anna's question to win the game, which no one saw coming. Creme brulee could never be Jello. You could never be Jello is a quote from what rom-com? Oh, there's both shaking their heads there. I need a tiebreaker question, guys. Yay, Anna on the chat.
You could never be Jello. You could never be Jello.
Meg Ryan, who? Sorry, I'm taking the quotes away now. Oh, hello. Yeah, that was that film. It was that film. Yeah, that is a quote from what film? Does anyone know that? No idea. No one knows this.
I don't know it. No.
Jello.
Okay, so it looks like that question. Chris, do you want to pull up a tiebreaker question? Do you want to find one? Or are you happy to leave it a draw? Because they're co-authors after all.
Yeah, I mean, that would be fitting rather than me randomly trying to get a question.
Well, I'm all up for.
Man, I like tying.
I'm all up for the Romeo and Juliet, like one of the must end.
Well, they both end in that, mate. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's a true point. So it was at my best friend's wedding, so that was a kind of rubbish one to finish off on, I guess. No one got that on the chat there.
It was very obscure. It was a very obscure quote.
It was. So I'll leave it to you guys. Do you want to do a tiebreaker, or are you happy to leave it a draw?
I want it to be a draw, Kristoffer Polaha.
Yeah, me too.
Fantastic.
Leave it a draw.
Oh, fantastic. New
It's
question,
all
summer
feels.
shouts.
It's all the feels.
Chris's face was priceless. Excellent, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast, and honestly, I think you guys are creating something wonderful. Anna, you're working. Your books are fantastic, and you're working with kids, which is amazing as well. Chris, you coming into this world must be, like you said, exposing Chris Uli. But you are creating quality work. People are recognizing that, so I think you need to take a bit more, like Anna said, and responsibility for that, and I appreciate that as well. So, guys, please check out their book. There's a few dates. Is it out in the UK now, or is it out in the America differently?
No, March 9. I think it's March 9. Yeah.
Okay. So out in March, guys, check it out. Where can they find it? Is there a website they need to go to, or is it just generally available?
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere books are sold.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
So, guys, we'll finish up. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for so many questions coming in. It's wonderful to see you engaging. Please do check out the sponsor of the show, which was AC Merkel. His book is up in the corner there. Her name is Murder. Thank you for supporting the show, AC, and up there. And Anna and Chris, so grateful that you came on and spoke with us. We can't wait to see what else comes out of this. And guys, we will see you on a special bonus show on Monday with Drew Davis on, even though he's not actually Welsh, on St. David's Day, with special co-host Kristen Bailey. It's going to be a hell of a laugh on Monday. Please tune in with that. And we can only thank you, and stay safe. Look after yourselves. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
For having us. It was awesome. Thanks,
Bye.